Welcome to Miller's Monsters, and I am Mr. Beelzebub. Over here, getting a little scratch, is Luna. Back behind me is Edgar P. Scully, the Scully, and also keeper of the mask until I'm see fit to wear it again. It's been a hectic week. Luna had to go get checked out. Think she got some bad food or too many treats. As you know, she's always eating treats, but she's feeling much better now, much more energetic, and you can see she has that life in her eyes again. Yeah, she's so excited to be here. Aren't you? You feeling better though? Yeah, you can see it in her face. Oh, you should have seen it. Boy, am I off on a tangent here. When I came up the tape, and boy, she just laid there on the towel and did not move, and got me very, very worried. But anyways, I digress as usual. Where was I? We talked about, okay, Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's what we're going to talk about today, and I've been wanting to do something on them for a long time, but I didn't know much about them until I started getting back into paranormal horror. It wasn't that long ago, and they're such an interesting story. They are. Well, before I get into that, though, please hit the bell, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, because you're going to hear a whole lot about Ed and Lorraine Warren in the future. Set yourself up for notifications, and please tell your friends to like and subscribe to us. So, back to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed was a self-taught demonologist, and Lorraine Warren was a clairvoyant, or proclaimed to be a clairvoyant. And the interesting thing is Lorraine was a skeptic in the beginning, and Ed and Lorraine had been dating since they were teenagers, and she came then to be a believer. And Ed and Lorraine Warren, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952, and they opened this up to anybody. They especially like to bring in skeptics, and a lot of them left believing after hanging out with Ed and Lorraine. But anyways, there's such a wealth of information in the paranormal arena, and their cases, their case studies have turned into many, many, many movies, horror movies that we've known and loved. The Conjuring series, the Amityville Horror, Annabelle, and many, many more, which we'll be getting to as time goes on. All right, the Warrens lived in Connecticut, in Monroe, Connecticut, and not far from their house was a graveyard, the Union Cemetery, and they took interest in graveyards. They'd go there with a recorder and a photograph, and they said, obviously, people go out in the dark because it's eerie and adds to the spookiness. They would go in the day and examine the tombstones, where they would often find patterns in the tombstones or in the sky, or in the surroundings, that they say the souls left their impression on. And then they would also take a recorder with them and just leave it out there for hours, and then come back not thinking they got anything, then come back and listen to it, and they would find voices on the recording. So this book, The Graveyard, goes into a lot of the stories of Union Cemetery. And before they got into the story about Union Cemetery, they told a story in Maine. And there was a couple that would sneak out. They were both married. And of course, adultery was back now, and still back in the day, was a terrible crime, punishable by death. Not so much now, but unless it's a jilted lover. But back then, the husband could behead the wife, and vice versa, I would imagine. I hope it goes both ways. And so these two lovers would sneak out and commit adultery out in the forest. And One day they're out in their little hiding spot about to make love when the wife hears a screaming behind them, and she looks and she sees a young man standing there and with this most horrifying scream that anyone's ever heard. Startled, she moves away from her lover and goes to the young man who's screaming, and she reaches out to try to comfort him, and her hand goes right through the body, and she turns around to look for her boyfriend, and he's gone. He doesn't see this, and he just sees his crazy lover motioning and trying to comfort air, and he's like, well, she lost it, I'm out of here. He wasn't worth keeping, honey, if he took off that fast on you. So anyways, she's still trying to comfort this spirit, and all he can do is scream. But in this time, he talks to her, but not in a voice, but in visions. And she sees a vision of this young man's wife about to make love to her lover or commit adultery. And then she sees a vision of him jumping off a bridge and breaking through the ice in a river and drowning. And he is said to appear and discourage adulterous activity, and it succeeded. She went back, and they never continued their tryst after that. Now, the tale about in Union Cemetery that they told in this book is about a man named Walsh, and he was an odd bird. He was in town, kind of a drifter, and he used to tell a tale about how he worked the carny circuit with a fortune teller, and one day this fortune teller looked into his crystal ball and saw a vision, and he turned to Walsh and said, whatever you do, don't go in the tunnel of love with your girlfriend. You're going to end up choking her and accusing her of having an affair. Well, Walsh didn't listen to her, and took his significant other in the tunnel of love. Suddenly he felt this rage into him, accused her of cheating, and was choking her. Luckily, the fortune teller stopped it in the nick of time before anything else could happen. So that's why he left the carnival circuit. So he ends up in this town, and he falls in love with the woman that he sees around town. And the problem with this is, well, she's already married, happily married, and sings in the church choir. So he is kind of makes sure he runs into her, gets to the point where he's taking pictures of her, and pretty much stalking her, okay, as we would call it nowadays. And he does this for months and months, and it gets to a point where even it is said that the husband of the lady approached him and told him, stop stalking my wife. And eventually he just lusts for this person, and it grows and grows and grows. So he comes up with this plan that, okay, I'm going to kill the husband, and I'm going to put weights in his pocket, and there's this sinkhole behind the Baptist church, and I'm going to put him in the sinkhole so deep he'll never be found. And sure enough, it becomes more of a thought. He puts the plan into action, and one night he waylays the husband coming home, shoves his pocket full of weights, 5 pounds in every pocket he could find, puts him in the sinkhole down deep. Body's never going to be found again. So the next morning, he's up and he's shaving, and he looks down and he looks in the mirror and sees a shadow figure behind him. And this shadow figure just starts walking and walks right through the wall. Startled, he gets out, runs out of the bathroom into the living room, and he sees the shadow figure again, walking through his house and through a wall. He's so startled, he calls his landlady up, which draws the attention to every tenant in the place. It had 6 rooms, and he has the landlady, is a really brave guy, go in there and clear the room for him. And she's like, I don't see anything. Shouldn't drink so much. And as she closes the door, he goes back in. You can hear everybody laughing because he was known to be a drunk okay, and you know, hit the sauce pretty hard, and you know, you can have hallucinations when you're have a problem like that. So they think nothing of it, and weeks go by, and he's there, and he's there. It's like he's laying low because he can't approach her yet, because that'll raise suspicion of the police or the town folk or even her maybe. And so he's waiting and he's waiting, and a few weeks go by and things seem to be back to normal. When one night he hears a commotion outside, and he looks outside the window, and there's this big commotion, and a bunch of people are jumping in the pickup truck and heading somewhere, and he gets this feeling. It's like, oh God, they found the body. This has to be, they found the body. Why else would this be going on? So he musters the strength and goes down to the Baptist church. Behind the Baptist church is the sinkhole, and somebody comes by and offers him a cigarette, and starts telling him, he's like, I don't know how that body floated to the surface. There is no way that body could have ever floated to the surface. It had weights in his pocket. It's impossible. It's like he meant to be found. And sure enough, they brought the body out, and he still had the weights in his pockets. And they said it was plenty of weights that, it should have sunk him to the bottom, and he would never have been found. So once he hears this, he rushes back to the hospital, should have been in the hospital in the beginning, back to his apartment. He's like, all right, I gotta get out of here, and starts packing the bags, 2 bags to be exact. Right as he's about to open the door, he hears a knock, and it's the town police. The town sheriff says, hey, we need to talk to you. And he's like, yep, forget the bags. He goes to get out the window, but they apprehend him pretty quickly, and before the morning he confesses to the murder. And it's a mystery to this day. No one knows how or why that body floated to the surface when it did, or why it did. But it could be that a spirit wanted to make sure that his murderer was caught and protect his wife. So, strange stories. I'm going to continue reading this, and I'll keep giving you some of the more interesting stories. That I just started it, so there's 2 to start, but I thought they were very interesting. So if you like what you heard, ring the bell, hit the subscribe, hit like, set yourself up for notifications, because we got a lot more coming from Union Cemetery in the future. And tell your friends to like and follow us. I thank you in advance, and I will talk to you later.